Hey chillers, welcome back to my channel. So today, it is Wednesday. Whoops. I'm hitting my tripod. Okay. Today I am going to be, like I said, it's Wednesday, which means it's spooky day. I am all out of sorts. Right. Today I'm going to be reading 14 scary true stories that must be read to be believed. I'm just going to change this to read it and believe it. Because BuzzFeed, that is too long a title. Alright, here we go. Number 1. This creepy sighting. I'll probably only read like 10 of them. To leave a little insight for the rest of y'all. I'll pick it up later. I knocked over the Sharpies from the last video. I left them on my floor. Alright, number 1. This creepy sighting. When I was little, my mom and I were in the kitchen, and I saw this strange figure standing in the corner. I told her about it immediately, and as it turns out, every single one of my siblings had claimed to see a figure that looked the same when they were around the same age. Cute! Number 2. This Elvis fan. This one's courtesy of my aunt. My father and my 2 aunts lived in a house that was supposedly haunted. One night, my aunt was having a sleepover with her friends, and one of them brought a Ouija board. Rule number 1. Don't play with Ouija boards. That is a bad idea. They ended up communicating with a spirit named Rosalie. They asked where she was, and she said, "On your lap." Creepy. Then the nightgown my aunt was wearing puffed downward onto her lap, as if someone was sitting on my aunt's lap. They started to freak out. Then the spirit wrote out, "Put on channel 78. I like Elvis." And of course, to my aunt and her friend's shock, one of Elvis's shows was on that exact channel. She has not touched a Ouija board since. Good for you. Don't mess with Ouija boards. Like I said, that's a bad idea. If you mess with Ouija boards, you're gonna have a bad time. Number 3. This ghostly relative. While my mom was researching deep into our family history, we found out that we're distantly related to one of the most famous ghosts in Denmark, who's known as the White Lady of Dragsholm. The legend goes that she was a nobleman's daughter who fell in love with a stable boy and got pregnant. For this, her father bricked her up inside the walls of the house, alive. Gross. And now she haunts the property. Her full name was Celestine Marianne de Bayonne Guildenstern. Stern? Sorry if I'm butchering that name. I think that's pretty wild. Alright, number 4. This self-surgery. According to family stories, my late grandmother's second husband had a very deep, raspy voice. He had tonsillitis, but didn't have enough money to get his tonsils removed. He let them become more and more infected until one day, he put a funnel in his mouth and poured in baking soda. The story claims that it made him cough so much that he coughed up his tonsils, and it left him with that now famously gravelly voice. Okay. That's weird. Number 5. This seance table. When my grandmother was a child, she witnessed a village-wide seance for a little girl who just tragically died. My great-grandmother didn't believe in this sort of thing, so she took the table used in the seance home and placed it by a window. Within an hour, it burst into flames and set her drapes on fire. The fire was put out, and needless to say, the remnants of the table were disposed of. Good idea. Number 6. This close call. This story is from my maternal grandparents' wedding, and my mom loves telling it. It took place at the local dance hall, where there was another event also happening simultaneously. There was some sort of argument that my grandfather had to break up, and he politely asked the gentleman involved to leave. since he wasn't on their guest list anyway. The man left without a fuss, but not without taking some of the flowers off the newlyweds' decorated car. They didn't find out until days later, but the papers reported that this guy had been running from the law for the murder of his father, stepmother, and 5 half-siblings. He ended up being the last ever person to be hanged in Alberta, Canada. Good God almighty. That's terrible. Number 7. This criminal discovery. Most of my family doesn't know this story, but since my mom is in charge of genealogical records, I've heard it from her many times. Basically, my great-great-great-great-great-grandma, it's 3 greats, had a daughter, and she found out her daughter was being mistreated by her husband, so they did what any logical Canadians would do. They both took axes and hacked him to death. I'm talking dismemberment level hacking here. They were tried and hanged for murder, but this makes them my most interesting relatives. I thought Canadians were nice! I know that's a stereotype, but aren't they supposed to be nice? Number 8. This grave realization. My grandpa's family lived in Plainfield, Wisconsin in the early 1900s until the 1970s. This is also where infamous grave robber Ed Gein lived. Gein, I'm gonna go with Gein. And according to my grandpa, the bodies of some of our relatives were actually dug up by Ed himself. The police never made a public release of the names of those who dug up. But if you had family buried in the cemetery, you could go to the police with your family members and confirm whether or not they were dug up by Ed. Gross. What is it with people? What? Why? I understand that people used to be buried with their jewels and stuff, but who would want to touch a dead body? That's just creepy. That freaks me out. I don't like that. It makes me uncomfortable. 9. Number 9. This spooky prediction. When I was a toddler, I never went to bed without being read a story. One night I was in bed getting ready for sleep, and my mom came in to read me a book she had just purchased. I insisted that my aunt, her sister, had already read it to me. My mom told me that it was impossible, since my aunt lived in New York and we were in Washington, D.C. at the time. Then the phone rang. It was my grandparents calling to let my mom know that my aunt had died. Nip, 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 nope, 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 nobody, nope, 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 nope. No thanks. That's creepy. And number 10. This family curse. Oh, great. So basically, as far back on my mom's side as we can go, the women have had supernatural experiences. To just name a few. My grandmother always said she felt a presence with her. This woman had been in more near-death experiences than I can count, and always made it out. From car accidents to domestic abuse to aneurysms to 3 different kinds of cancer. She was never sure if that present protected her or cursed her. My mom also had a presence that played tricks on her. When she had my oldest brother, she moved into a house that was turned into an apartment building. She lived on the ground floor with access to the basement. She'd always catch the basement light on. It was a pull string, so she'd head downstairs and click off the light. When she'd get back up the stairs, all of the dining room chairs would be moved around, with one always placed across the room, facing to look out the front window. That is beyond creepy. Alright, there are 4 more left on this list. If you want to, I will leave a link down below in the description so you can go read this for yourself and read the rest of the stories. Like I said, it has to be read to be believed. So, if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up so I know. please follow all my social media down below in the description. You can click my button to subscribe to my channel. Yes, I changed my profile picture. And my last video is right here. Alright, I will see you guys in the next video. Peace out, chillers.